Hello everyone, welcome to today's battle report. So, as you will know, I've joined the Fading Flames League, and in the Fading Flames League there is a Warriors of the Dark Gods list in my group that I saw, and I just fell in love with it straight away. And so I decided I wanted to have a go at this list, and so I decided to enter a cheeky second tournament and take this list to it just to get a few games in with it. So this is the first of those. So if you're wondering what's happened to the Orcs and Goblins that I've spent weeks and months developing, they are on the way. They are still playing in the Fading Flames League, but this is just a sort of cheeky side league, I suppose, really, that I'm playing in. So this game was the round one with my Warriors of the Dark Gods list. It's not really mine, totally stolen. But round one against a lovely guy called Jordan Neville. So bit of Warriors of the Dark Gods against the Undying Dynasties. As always, I'm going to flash up the lists and you can take a look and we will get into deployment. But before that, I will ask you to like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Okay, here we are in deployment then. So the deployment type is counter thrust, and the secondary objective is the spoils of war, and the map is map A5, Misty Marshes. So let's just go through the lists. I think we'll start with Jordan, left to right. We've got a unit of skeletal chariots, and then some skeleton cavalry, big block of skeletons, and then a smaller block of skeletons, and this has got the two, I want to call them tomb priests. What are they called now? Something hierarchs. Anyway, those guys, the Hierophant is there, and then the other guy there. Then we've got a unit of Necropolis Guard with the Pharaoh, and they're called a Tomb Harbinger now, I think. They used to be called a Tomb Prince. Anyway, that one. Battle Sphinx here, 2 units of Shabti here, and unit of Scarab Swarms here. On my side, unit of Chosen, unit of Flayers, another unit of Chosen, the Sorcerer on the Battle Shrine, War Shrine, not sure which it's called nowadays, big unit of Warriors, another unit of Chosen, and another unit of Flayers. I will mention I decided to deploy my character outside of this unit because I anticipate this unit has to get into combat with the guard here, and these guys are very well suited to issuing challenges and demolishing characters in challenges, particularly sorcerers with Aegis saves if you look at their special equipment. So I figured there wasn't a lot of ranged threat in this army, so I'm quite happy for him to sort of wander around by himself. So that's deployment. I will flash up the vanguards quickly and then we will get into turn one, which would be going to me. Okay, quick flash of vanguards here. Now the keen-eyed amongst you will have noticed that I vanguarded the Flayers 12 inches, and apologies Jordan if you're watching this, because I realised after the game that Chaos Flayers can only vanguard 6 inches, though I think it won't matter as you will see in the next turn, because they have more than sufficient movement to get to where they want to be, but apologies for that anyway. So I've vanguarded the Flayers here, and Jordan has slightly vanguarded his cavalry up here. So that's vanguards. Let's get into my movement 1. Okay, my movement 1 here then. So I have moved the Flayers. There's a lovely 3-inch gap here between the impassable terrain and this cavalry unit. So I've gone conga line style straight through the gap here. I am, of course, March 20, so I can quite easily get through there. And then the other Flayers also heading this way. This is all because I think these chariots are a bit of a nuisance and a bit of a danger in some ways to my Chosen. My Chosen are resilience 4 and 2 health points each, but every Chosen that dies reduces the unit's damage output by 10%. So I'm looking to harass these chariots with my Flayers first and then come after the cavalry later. Not sure whether that was the right play, but that's what I went for anyway. And then other than that, just an advance straight up the front really. And that's my movement 1. Okay, end of my turn 1 here then. So I think I took these off before taking the movement photograph, but just in case I didn't, a few lashes there on this fast cavalry unit wanted to start harassing the chariot, but didn't quite have the distance to get over here, so have had to settle for taking off a few of the skeleton cavalry anyway. And then in the magic phase, I've got Hasten the Hour off against the 2 wizards in the bunker. And this is a deliberate strategy. I know that Jordan can use Death is only the beginning to sort of undo the damage there. But if he is doing that, then he's not using Death is the beginning to bolster his unit. So I'm deliberately sort of draining his attempts there, I suppose you might say. And that was the end of my turn 1. Okay, end of Jordan's movement 1 here then. So he's declared 2 charges, one with the Battle Sphinx, which has run into the warriors, and then another with the Necropolis Guard into this unit of Chosen, which you can see has failed. Now, this needed a 9 on 2 dice, so it was always unlikely to fail, but I do feel that I was perhaps a little bit careless and a little bit perhaps too brazen with this warrior unit, making that possible, because had he have made that, he would have smashed through this unit of Chosen and overrun into my general. So I kind of got a bit lucky there, got away with it perhaps, but it was unlikely to make it. So then he's used his Banner of the Relentless Company on his skeletons here to sort of move this unit up and chaff and try and sort of pin this unit in place a bit really. And then other than that, you can see he's just sort of a cautious advance around the side here and getting the chariots into a position to force the flayers to move. And that's Jordan's movement 1. Okay, end of Jordan's turn 1 here then. So he's got Know Thine Enemy off on the Sphinx in the magic phase, and a charioteer up here has killed 1 flayer. But the big news from Jordan's turn 1 is that the Sphinx here went absolutely berserk. He did have Know Thine Enemy, so it's hitting on 3s and I'm hitting it on 4s rather than the other way round, but his damage output was way above average. 6 Thunder Stomps, about a 90% hit rate, a similar sort of wound rate. I mean, you can see it's taken out a good 8 or 10 warriors over here. It was absolutely bananas, but the warriors did hold. So that's the end of Jordan's turn 1. Okay, my movement 2 then. So a couple of charges. The Shabti have been charged up here by the Chosen, and the Chosen here have gone onto the flank of these skeletons that in that sort of motion. Didn't charge in the front with the Chosen here because then I'd have to maximise, and then Jordan would be able to bring his Necropolis Guard in potentially later, which of course I don't want to accommodate. So I have instead stepped sideways, preventing any sort of corner-to-corner charges there. Also quite happy that this gap is sufficient to prevent this unit from fitting through. So having reformed this way, the Battle Sphinx doesn't have very much to move, so pretty happy with that. Harassing the chariots with the flayers over here, done I think 4 wounds. These flayers though have failed their march test, so they're slow to get into the game over here. And that's pretty much my movement 2. Okay, end of my turn 2 here then. I think I mentioned that I flayed off a chariot in the last turn, but just in case not, that happened. Magic phase, I got Ancestral Aid off on the warriors here, and I'd gone for Ancestral Aid rather than Whispers of the Veil because Ancestral Aid is cast on a 6, and I only had 2 power dice left, and I thought that was a safer bet, although wounding the Sphinx on 5s rather than 6s would have been good, but I felt that was the safer bet. I did get Touch of the Reaper off on the Pharaoh, but it didn't do any damage. The warriors flopped again, only hitting 9 out of 17 attacks despite being on 4s with rerolls and then no 6s, but they did hold again. They are of course steadfast. Chosen beat the skeletons over here, and I reformed. I don't anticipate a rear charge here because that would be suicide, to be honest. They'd just crumble. And the Chosen up here beat the Shabti and overrun, but missed the flank here by an inch, so that was a bit sad. And that was the end of my turn 2. Okay, Jordan's movement 2 here then. So from what I recall, there was just the 1 charge, which was these fast cavalry here against the flayers who fled, and the cavalry here therefore failed their charge. Moving the Shabti out of the way of the Chosen here and then chaffing with the Scarab Swarm, that makes sense. I'm surprised that he didn't charge this unit of Chosen here with the Necropolis Guard, because he could have got his Pharaoh and his Tomb Harbinger into this unit here. But anyway, he didn't. So they're just kind of there. I wonder whether that's a missed opportunity, to be honest. But that's Jordan's movement 2. Okay, end of Jordan's turn 2 here then. So in the magic phase, he's got off a scrying on the Battle Sphinx and has brought 7 more skeletons up into this unit. But as you can see in the combat phase, enough would be killed that the rest would pop, and I've reformed there. The warriors have again done 0 wounds to the Battle Sphinx. They are now still hitting it on 4s, though it's not hitting them on 3s anymore. But still, that's 3 rounds of combat that they've been in, and so far they've done 2 wounds on 4s, then 6s. And these are mostly re-rollable 4s as well, so really disappointed with what's going on there. That's the end of Jordan's turn 2. Okay, on to my movement 3 then. So movement 3 was a little bit nerve-wracking because I had a unit of flayers here who I needed to rally on an 8, no re-roll, and I needed that because I needed them to then march. And of course they can do that because they have feigned flight, but I needed them to march a sufficient distance to block this unit from steamrolling through this gap here. But they did make it, so quite pleased with that. So I think there was just the 2 charges. Unit of Chosen here into the side of the Battle Sphinx, come and rescue the warriors, and then charging off the chaff here with the Scarab Swarms. Flayers continuing to bully the chariots up here. You can see another one is gone. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it, actually. That's my movement 3. Okay, end of my 3 here then. So in the magic phase, I had a miscast. I was on Touch of the Reaper on the Hierophant, but I miscast on a triple once and spell didn't go off. I did get Ancestral Aid off on the Chosen though, who you can see steamrolled through the Sphinx and saved a few of the warriors before they overran. And I did have to overrun because I didn't really have any way to reform because of the proximity of all these units close to one another, so I thought I'd just go this way and head after the secondary objective. Chosen up here beat the Scarabs and a bunch of them popped, but not enough to kill the unit, and that was the end of my 3. Okay, Jordan's movement 3 here then. So in the middle is the important bit. The Shabti here have got a charge off on my general, and this is both good and bad. It's good because the Necropolis Guard can't even charge the chaff now, because they can't close on the chaff and the chaff can't close on them. But it's bad because I had failed to realise that the Shabti have halberds, which means they're strength 6. So they're actually wounding my general on 3s, and his 2-up becomes a 5-up when I thought it was a 4-up. So it was a risk, and based on my misinformation has got my general in a little bit of trouble though. We'll see how that goes there. Bringing the cavalry here to try and come and corner the flayers here, but I think Jordan's given up with the chariots. And yeah, that's pretty much it actually for Jordan's movement 3. Okay, end of Jordan's 3 here then. So he's got Know Thine Enemy off on the skeletons here, which is of course all about getting death is only the beginning on his Hierophant, and he's taken that wound off this Hierophant. He had a pretty poor magic phase actually, a few unlikely failed casts and such like, which meant he had dice left for the Rod of Battle and he used them for the sake of using them. So that's fair enough. So the Chosen finished the Scarabs up here in Jordan's turn 3. The Shabti did 3 wounds on my general, so this is pretty hairy because he's only got a total 5, so he's down to 2. So yeah, we'll see how that goes, and that was the end of Jordan's 3. My movement 4 then, correction to an earlier clip. Know Thine Enemy was cast on the Shabti unit here, and that got the Death is Only at the Beginning on the Hierophant. But that's really helpful for Jordan. It's a very good play because it means that these warriors who are going to try and come in and finish off the Shabti and save the general are only hitting them at the same time as they are hitting my general. So I can't hit them fast enough to save my general if they should kill him. But anyway, they're going in to at least finish off the Shabti. Full steam ahead with the Chosen up here, and then these two units going after the two secondary objectives. I don't see that Jordan's going to be able to threaten them, because by now most of his units are quite depleted. It's just his big Death Star in the middle that is caught up, really. It can't charge the flayers because it can't close on them. They can't close on it. It can't charge the warriors here because it can't close on them. They can't close on it. So we're sort of landlocked a bit here. And that's my movement 4. Took out the last chariot as well up here with the flayers. That's my movement 4. Okay, end of my turn 4 here then. So I've got 1 wound on the Hierophant with Touch of the Reaper, and then I've got a wound on the Hierophant as well with Hasten the Hour, and then the other wizard with Hasten the Hour. So both of these wizards down to 1 wound, although the Hierophant might have 2 actually. Do Hierophants have +1 wound? Not sure. Anyway, up here, General got really lucky. The Shabti only did 1 wound to him, so he's got 1 left, though he is decimated, and the warriors finished off the Shabti and reformed, and that was the end of my turn 4. Okay, on to the end of Jordan's movement 4 then. So he has finally been able to declare a charge with his big Death Star unit, though it is only against a unit of 5 flayers there. And this is really smart play, taking advantage of my carelessness. I've come with these Chosen full steam ahead at the bunker, and so the bunker has just marched forwards and gone out of their arc of vision, so I fully deserve that for carelessness. And then he's bringing his cavalry up here. I'm not really sure why. Maybe to save the chaff later if you can get them into place. I'm not sure. Anyway, that's the end of movement. Jordan's movement 4. Okay, end of Jordan's turn 4 here then. So in the magic phase, he's got Scrying and Spectral Blade off on this Necropolis Guard unit. And of course, in both cases, that's really about death is only the beginning and fixing the Hierophant, which he's done successfully. Necropolis Guard have killed the flayers and reformed, of course. And that's the end of Jordan's turn 4. Okay, my 5 then. So there have been no charges in my 5, but my 2 units here have picked up the markers for the secondary objective, and both of these units failed their march tests, which means that one of them is certainly going to get charged by the Necropolis Guard next turn. I've also made a careless mistake here, bringing this unit too far out this way, which means that this Necropolis Guard is in its rear, and what Jordan could actually do is charge it in the rear and overrun, and then he'd be, potentially able to challenge this unit for the secondary objective, which could cause that to be drawn, but we'll see whether he does or not later. Flayers up here killed a bunch of the cavalry, and then reforming this unit so that they can't go and run and hide anymore. And that's the end of my movement 5. Okay, so this is the end of my 5 then. So the only thing that happened was really good news. One thing happened, but it was really good news. I got Touch of the Reaper off, which killed Jordan's Hierophant. I had burnt a Veil token with the Veil Walker rule, so I was re-rolling to wound. I got 3 hits, wounding on 3s with re-rolls, AP 10, and I've killed the Hierophant, so kept the pressure on there and taken out the Hierophant, although Jordan has passed all of his dust to dust tests. So that's the end of my turn 5. Okay, end of Jordan's movement 5 here then. So you can see he's charged these warriors in the rear, and I fully deserve that. He's also split off his new Hierophant from this unit here and then used them as chaff, so I can't reach the Hierophant in combat, and I deserve that for being too enthusiastic. And then up here, conga line of his cav, presumably to stop my fast cav from being able to lash his new Hierophant. So that's the end of Jordan's movement 5. Okay, end of Jordan's 5 here then. So he's got Spectral Blades off on, I think on himself actually. The wizard cast that on himself, which of course was about death is only the beginning and reducing the wounds profile here, obviously guarding against some magical attacks in my final turn. And then the Necropolis Guard killed the warriors, but instead of overrunning and maybe coming to threaten this unit, I was surprised that Jordan decided to reform. Obviously he's planning to go after this unit here, although I suppose if I don't fail my march test, he could of course then go this way, but I think if it were me I'd have overrun, because then the gap would have been shorter, although I suppose it depends how far he overruns, because I might just be able to slip past him in the same way that he did me, I guess. Anyway, that is the end of Jordan's 5. Okay, my turn 6 then. So no spells through in my magic phase. I did get card 1, which was a bit sad, and my wizard is only on 1 health point, so I didn't really want to be risking any miscasts. So the potential loss of losing this guy is greater than the gain of killing this guy. So yeah, no spells through. Chosen have popped the skeletons up here, and the flayers have popped the cavalry, and that's the end of my turn 6. And then, last move of the game, Jordan charged with his Necropolis Guard at the secondary objective holding unit here, but failed. They, of course, had only gone 5 inches because the marker prevents them from marching because they're so small. But anyway, failed the charge there, so that was the end of the game. So Jordan had done 1,480 points of damage to me. I'd done 2,740 to him. That's a difference of 1,260, which is a 13-7 to me. But I've, of course, got 2 of the secondary objectives, so that becomes a 16-4. Few reflections on the game. I was lucky not to lose my general against those Shabti. I deserved that, and that was my error in not spotting the halberds that would have made that fully deserved. I was also, I think, quite fortunate that Jordan charged with the Shabti, though, into my general in one sense, because that locked the Necropolis Guard and had them sort of standing around for 2 turns. And they're a big Death Star unit. They've got to be outscoring their points. So yeah, that was kind of fortunate the way that went. I think I was unlucky against the Battle Sphinx. I mean, that thing should have died twice for the length of time it was in combat. I deserved not to get this wizard priest up here. It was my careless use of my chosen here that got me into that situation, so that was fully deserved. And similarly, the risk with the chosen here overrunning into my general early in the game, that was my careless placement, so I deserved to be punished for that, and I got away with it, truth be told. I feel I kept the pressure on well with Hasten the Hour and Touch of the Reaper. I always knew that Jordan was going to keep on using Death is only the beginning, but it meant that he was constantly having to regrow his priests, which meant he wasn't buffing his units. But I think really, I don't feel like I outplayed Jordan. I feel like my list is better than his, but I can't take any credit for that because this is absolutely stolen from another player. So yeah, there you go. That's the end of the game, guys. Thank you for making it all the way through to the end, and as always, I will see you next time.